Hey friends. So in this video, we're going to look at what Arola has to say in his section on experience and truth. So let's begin in a place where Arola doesn't begin, but I think might be helpful for getting into what he's talking about. So there was a pre-Socratic philosopher, words aren't good, pre-Socratic philosopher named Heraclitus. So Heraclitus famously thought that the basic element of reality is fire, right? So Thales thought it was water. Um, Heraclitus thought it was fire. And Anaxagoras thought it was mind. I think it's been a little while since I've studied my pre-Socratic philosophers. Anywho, so Heraclitus has this observation that everything around us is constantly changing, and in fact, the world seems to embody contradictions, right? So he says things like the road up is also the road down. Salt water is poisonous to human beings, but healthy for fish. So Heraclitus is chock full of these observations, and his conclusion is that the world is constantly changing. The world is dynamic. He very famously wrote, "You can never step in the same river twice." So fast forward a few hundred years, and you maybe like 100 years, and you get Plato, right? So Plato is wrestling with some of these observations from Heraclitus, but he also recognizes what a philosopher named Parmenides has to say, which is that unless we have something stable, right, we can't make sense of the notion of change, right? So the idea then is that in order to measure change, you have to measure something changing against something which isn't changing, right? So in order to make sense of our idea of change, we need something that isn't changing, right? So we need both dynamics and stability, staticness. Shit changes, shit stays the same, and we need both of these things. Now, Plato's solution to this was to say that the world around us is constantly changing, but we have this realm of forms that isn't changing, right? And so that was his solution to the problem, right? His solution is to say that the world is changing around us, but behind that, or maybe transcendent to that, is a world of forms that doesn't change. Right? Now, what Arola writes is that Native American philosophers took a different tack, right? They didn't posit that there is this world of forms beyond the visible world. Rather, they argue that stability is a matter of consistency amidst complexity, right? Again, consistency amidst complexity. So while Plato located these stable and unchanging objects outside of the natural world, what Arola writes is that Native American philosophers locate stability within the world, but it's kind of like a local stability or a temporary stability, right? It's not an eternal stability. It's just local in the here and now. So you can think of it this way, right? The banks of a river are constantly changing, right? Nonetheless, there is a kind of stability there, right? So even though the water is picking up some sediment and depositing others, there's still something we can coherently call the banks of the river, right? So we have stability or consistency amidst this complexity. So what that tells us then is that we aren't looking for permanent and eternal truths, right? Rather, we recognize, Native American philosophers would tell us, we ought to recognize the dynamic, constantly changing character of the world. And so our job in experiencing the world is to be open to how the world manifests itself to us, right? That we might expect the world to behave in a certain way. However, the world might defy our expectations. And our job isn't to impose our conceptual schemes on the world, but rather leave our conceptual schemes open-ended enough that we are able to make sense of these unpredicted manifestations. Right? So I use the term conceptual scheme there. The term that Arola uses in this piece is a matrix, right? So the idea that, a matrix consists of a description of the world, a description of the human beings in that world, and a description of the role of humans in that world. And this is like sort of our way of navigating the world and making sense of the world. And our belonging to the world and our interactions with the world. But importantly, Arola notes that a matrix is ungrounded. Our conceptual schemes are ungrounded. What does that mean? Well, it means that Descartes' project of trying to ground all of our knowledge in like eternal and indubitable truths is out the window. Right? We have our matrices, our conceptual schemes for making sense of the world. We get them from others, we get them from our communities, we get them from our interactions with the world. And that's it. If somebody says, why this one over that one, right, we can just kind of go, right, that's what I got for you. Or if you're looking for like some absolutely indubitable foundation for your conceptual scheme, you're not going to get one, right? So a philosopher named Ludwig Wittgenstein makes a point like this, and he says, we keep digging down, digging down, digging down for deeper reasons, but at one point, your shovel turns, right? Your shovel can't dig any deeper, and you just say, that's it. I can't go any further. Why do I believe this? I believe it just because I believe it. So what do we mean by experience? By truth? Well, experience is how we interact and how we I guess for lack of a better word, experience how we understand the world. But truth here is an importantly dynamic and changing concept.